is up, all you savages? It's been a while. I know we are actually working on some new videos for you guys this week. It's been a while. We're going to get you updated, but there's a pretty important thing going around on the internet right now that a lot of people should be aware of, and today I just kind of felt like I needed to kind of speak up about the RPM Act. This is a big deal, guys. Most of the country doesn't know what we deal with in California with automotive emissions, and now the whole country is at risk of the government attacking our lifestyle and our freedom to enjoy what makes us happy. So I just wanted to kind of touch base a little bit about the RPM Act and the repercussions and what we could possibly expect to see from my predictions. So what the RPM Act does is it protects our right to modify our vehicles. However, the EPA is going after manufacturers and the aftermarket industry, basically trying to make it so we can't modify cars anymore. Modify cars for factory performance. And I'll be honest with you guys, I've seen something like this coming in the future, especially with the whole spiel California went through a couple years ago about our emissions. If you delete your catalytic converters off the vehicle, it's a felony. Pretty much like cars were getting towed and people were paying $1,000 fines and state refs, and that got vetoed after we got the back support. And I honestly feel like with how big this industry is, we got a pretty good fight, but at the same time, the government's still going to try and do what they want. So as far as voice of reason goes with this whole situation, they're definitely going to attempt to try to probably put some sort of enforcement on modifying vehicles. If you get pulled over and your emissions are deleted off your car, I mean, there's a reason why the manufacturers put emissions on the vehicles, because they have to meet EPA standards to sell the vehicle, which we as a consumer remove for our pleasure to gain optimum performance for performance use. For years, since I was a kid, I've always looked in magazines, looking at exhaust systems. I've always been a huge Mustang enthusiast. I've always been a huge car enthusiast. I grew up around this. I was a little kid and I grew up around cars and racing, and this is my life. But for as long as I can remember, there's always been disclaimers on parts being sold for off-road use only, and then people putting these off-road use only parts on their vehicles that they drive on the street. Well, that's kind of shame on you, because there's a disclaimer and you should know better. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but at the same time, I kind of feel like the repercussions we're going to see from this is, one, they are going after aftermarket tuning, which is a huge thing because it has a lot to do with the racing industry. The EPA, I don't think they're going after trying to 100% remove drag racing. I don't think they're really going to be able to shut down this industry. It's so big, and they would have to go through extreme measures, and they're starting to try to nip at it is what they're doing. I watched a video on Lund the other day. They still seem to be open as far as their issues go, and they've made some points about basically some of the aftermarket performance gains with long tube headers and E85 and tuning. You could actually make a car cleaner depending on how the vehicle is tuned. So we got a fight for us for sure. There's a way around this, I believe, where we could kind of like make some sort of an agreement with the EPA as far as restrictions, what we're going to be able to do, what we're not going to be able to do. Some states are probably going to create different laws on how we're going to look at this. But my point of view on this, growing up around racing, I always kind of knew, being behind the desk at a performance shop, that you modify a car for performance gains. And when we're looking for performance gains, it's because we're trying to outperform the competition. I grew up going to a racetrack. I've been to street races. I always thought it was cool. It always seemed kind of scary to me too, because there's a lot more at risk doing illegal street racing, because it's illegal, it's a law, and laws are made to be enforced. And when you're doing something illegal, you should know what the consequences are. Not cry that, oh, I did something illegal, but I shouldn't get in trouble for it. So that's just kind of my perspective on this. But what I could see happening is, of course, law enforcement probably getting stricter on modified vehicles on the road, which makes me nervous because I just finished my Mach 1 and I got an X-pipe on it and it's really loud. And to be honest with you guys, I'm probably just going to put the stock cats back on it just because of being in California. I don't want to get tickets. I can't afford it. These cars behind me, they're not mine, they're my father's. So it's not like I can't afford it because I'm around this. But my point that I'm making is, laws are meant to be followed. What I feel that this is going to enforce is, if you're going to want to have a performance vehicle, it's going to need to be purposely built for racing use only. Because it sounds to me like any vehicle with a VIN number that is registered, if it's modified, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I know they have laws like this in Australia that are really strict about modifying your vehicle that you drive, but Australia has some of the most insane race cars in the world. If you actually look up like skids and stuff like that, I mean, they put blown alcohol engines in regular cars just to do burnouts. I mean, they're pretty crazy out there, but they're competition use only vehicles. So if you buy a new Challenger and you want to delete the exhaust off of it to be loud and sound cool, but you're only doing it to be cool, not for performance gain or for competition use, you're flexing. And this sport has never been about flexing. It's been about competition. And I feel like automotive culture has gone a whole different direction this last generation or two, as far as what people are doing with their cars now. If you're just a show car guy, I get it. You want a good looking car, you want to be able to show off, and I see that a lot on YouTube now. I see a lot of people with 800,000 horsepower plus capable cars, and they just want to enjoy them and drive them on the road, which is actually very dangerous. There's no reason you need a car with that much power on an open road where you could put yourself in a harmful situation or somebody else in a harmful situation, because racing and cars and performance is unpredictable. If you're at a sanctioned racetrack, and something I see on YouTube a lot that a lot of people complain about is safety. This is very dangerous what we do. I've seen some horrific accidents over the years and people die from doing this because it's dangerous. When we go to a sanctioned racetrack, you have to invest into safety in the vehicle. Not because the track tells you you have to, but they want you to for your own safety. It's been in the NHRA rulebook for decades and decades. There's a reason why they want roll bars in cars. There's a reason why we have to wear helmets. There's a reason why we have to have harnesses. There's a reason why we have to wear head and neck restraints to save our lives doing this ridiculous sport. So the point that I'm trying to say is, if you want, I see this pushing us into, if you want to be involved in the high performance industry, the only way I think this is going to balance out for people who actually race for fun and professionally, not just modify their street car because they want to have a 1,000 horsepower car to drive to work. This is going to vary. You're not going to be able to have that $1,000 car to drive to work anymore, that 1,000 horsepower car, but You could keep that 1,000 horsepower car in your garage and take it to a racetrack where it's safe for you to enjoy it. A lot of you probably aren't going to agree with me, but I'm just speaking realistic terms and facts. You know, we gotta think about safety, guys, all around. We gotta think about how are we going to be able to continue doing what we love and be smart about it. It's just something that makes sense to me, and some people have disagreed with me about this already, but I see this being enforced because drag racing isn't going to go away. NHRA is not going to go away. NASCAR is not going to go away. Formula One's not going to go away. Okay? Those are billion-dollar corporations and racing industries. It's not going to go away. You can't make it go away. Even if the EPA enforces it, you're not going to stop actual racing events. And racing's huge back east. So basically what I'm seeing that's going to happen is the EPA is going to go after the aftermarket industry countrywide, not just California anymore, to where you're not going to be able to access programmers for your vehicles. You're not going to be able to access off-road X pipes for your vehicles. You're basically not going to be able to modify your street car. But if you're building a race car, and I'm sure there's going to be some sort of legal acts behind this and proof that we're going to have to show that it's a race car to get these parts to build our race cars so we could go to the track and go racing. Because I don't think they have an issue with actual race cars. They have an issue with people modifying their cars that they don't race. And that's creating a huge issue with our emissions. And if they're looking at it probably more in a safety aspect. Who knows? It's the EPA. But I really don't see them being able to shut down a $45 billion industry. I just don't see it. But I'm pretty sure there is going to be some form of a crackdown and agreement to where we're not going to be able to go buy a brand new 2022 Mustang and modify it. We'll probably be able to put some wheels on it, hood, make it nice, maybe change the mufflers, you know, for a little bit of a different sound. But as far as aftermarket performance gains is going to be super limited. So I think that's what's going to happen, and there's going to be some sort of proof that we're going to have to show if we are supercharging a vehicle that it is for competition use only. These rules and laws have been in effect for a long time with the EPA. I'm into all kinds of sports. Another example I could show, if you guys are into jet skis at all, California banned the sale of two-stroke watercraft years ago. You cannot buy a brand new two-stroke watercraft. So for years, from like 2011 to 2019, 2020, you could not purchase a two-stroke superjet in the state of California. For those of you who are jet ski guys, you know what I'm talking about. So they were able to sell the ski in other states, just not California because of our EPA laws. But you're able to get it in other places. Now, two-strokes are irrelevant. They're pretty much 100% gone. They don't make two-stroke jet skis anymore. Everything's four-stroke now, if you're gonna go buy a new jet ski. Which made it to where the new Superjet that just came out last year, the 2020, the new four-stroke, is legal to purchase in the state of California because of their emission laws. I'm just trying to use that as a way to kind of explain how the EPA works. They force things out to bring new things in, and within the next 15 to 20 years, they could be using this as a tool to kind of force out gas vehicles to bring in electric vehicles or whatever their plan or goal is. The EPA sucks. We have to kind of, you know, figure out how to get around it, but us as a group of people who are enthused by automotive, we're going to find a way around it. I mean, also keep in mind, if you want to do a built modified vehicle, we in California, we have this thing called pre-exempt. So if you have a car that I think it's like 76 or 78 now, anything like 1978 or older is what's called smog exempt, because these are older cars and they fall under a category where they're considered a classic. They want to keep these vehicles on the road. But however, there's no way in God's living hell these cars will pass emissions. But there's not as many of them on the road to show an amount of effect that they're going to cause a carbon smog issue, because there's not that many of these old cars on the road. And if you have one, you maybe drive it once a month, once every other week on a Saturday, maybe once every 2 months, maybe it just sits in the garage. But smog exempt kind of protects that. I'm sorry guys, I hate to say it, but it looks like the whole country might be going into full smog check mode, like California. That's what it looks like is going to happen. They're going to enforce this one way or the other. The RPM Act is definitely going to help protect our right to do what we want to do as far as a group. But my advice to you guys is sign it, jump online, sign it. We need all the support we can get to protect our sport and what we love and enjoy doing. But again, I don't see the EPA shutting down a $45 billion industry. I just don't see it. You can't stop certain things from happening. It's going to happen. It's like saying you're going to take guns away. People are still going to get guns. I know that's a different subject, but I'm just trying to make some sense out of what I'm saying. Racing's not going to go away. The government's not going to take our cars away from us. We just got to sign the act, come together as a group, and do what we can, contact our Congress, and just try to protect our sport as much as we can. And I just wanted to kind of reach out to you guys and show you my thoughts and what we can predict from this and what to kind of prepare for. I could be 100% wrong. So quote me wrong if you want after everything kind of settles down and we figure out what's happening. But again, I just wanted to share my prediction and what we could be expecting to see in the next couple of years as far as the automotive industry goes, as far as aftermarket support. Again, if you want a show car, you don't need, performance gains to have a car to show, to cruise with your friends, to just enjoy. If you want a 700,000 horsepower car, build it for the track where it's safe, guys. That's just kind of where I'm at on my thoughts with it, because if you crash on the road doing 140, 160 mile an hour, I guarantee you, safety's not going to be there immediately to save your life. And going that fast down the road in a car without the proper safety equipment, you're just asking for a death wish. So I've seen a lot of people get hurt really bad at the track. The difference is being on the road and at the track, safety's there immediately. We just need to make sure we support our local racetracks. If you don't have a local racetrack, maybe you need to reach out and talk to Congress and figure out what we can do to get one. That's something we've been working really hard on trying to figure out here in Southern California, because we only have like one drag strip and it's in Bakersfield. There's Pomona. They don't open to the public because it's in a heavy residential area. And there's Fontana, and Fontana's hit and miss because they don't open for grudge nights. And really, it's an issue on the West Coast that we need to work on. We need places to go. We don't really have anywhere to go. The EPA's been kind of just trying to drive it out entirely out here, which is insane. That's why a lot of people have been moving. I have friends that have moved to Texas. I have friends that are moving to Oklahoma, specifically just because they don't want to give up their passion for racing. So, and again, like I said, I don't see racing going away. I just feel like, depending on who you are in this industry, and what part of cars it is that you like, what you're going to be able to do and what you're not going to be able to do. But as far as the EPA goes, they're really going to be cracking down on companies on what they can and cannot sell to the public. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something they're going to do to where you could still gain aftermarket support for race cars. It's going to be interesting, and it's also going to be interesting to see what happens with this and what happens with events like Race Week and stuff like that too, where they actually take their race cars on 1,000-mile drives. So there's a lot of things that are going to be changing in the next couple of years, guys. It sucks. As we move forward, there's always shit changing. It's not always for the better, but we could always find a way around it. So I hope if this reached out to anybody and it makes sense to anybody, if you want to talk to me about it, you can message me, drop me a comment. You can call me a fucking idiot for all you want. I don't care. But at the same time, I'm just trying to get my point of view out there and see if I can make sense to anyone. But yeah, so go ahead, throw me a comment, like and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't heard about me, I'm going to be starting to make videos again. I have a 2004 Mustang Mach 1 that I just rebuilt. And yeah, anyways guys, stay savages. We'll see you later.